First contact. The vast emptiness of space remained undisturbed as the Corellian patrol vessel Vortok cut through the darkness, its sleek, crystalline structure gleaming under the distant starlight. Commander Zexler stood on the bridge, his four eyes surveying the holographic displays with practiced indifference. The border patrol was routine, boring even, but necessary to maintain the Corellian Empire's dominance across 3 galactic sectors. "Commander," called Sub-Officer Mirathan from her scanning station, her voice carrying a hint of curiosity. "I'm detecting an anomalous object at the edge of Sector 7B. Zexlar didn't bother looking up from his reports. "Debris. Another derelict mining drone." "No, sir. It's a vessel. Small, unknown configuration." Her scaled fingers danced across the translucent control panel. "Definitely not Corellian design. Not matching any known species in our database." This finally caught the commander's attention. The Corellians had catalogued every spacefaring race within 1,000 light-years. An unknown ship meant either a new species had achieved space travel, unlikely, or someone was venturing far from home. "Bring it on screen," he ordered. The main view screen illuminated, showing a small, sleek vessel with an unusual design. Unlike the crystalline architecture of Corellian ships or the organic curves of the Vex theory, this craft featured sharp angles and metallic plating. It was primitive by Corellian standards, no visible energy shields, minimal weaponry, and a primitive propulsion system. "Life signs?" Zexlar asked. "Minimal power signatures. 6 biological entities detected," Mirathan reported. "Their technology is rudimentary." Zexlar's upper lip curled in amusement. "Initiate standard scan protocol. Let's see what we're dealing with." Mirathan activated the Empire's renowned scanning technology, capable of penetrating any known shielding and analyzing everything from hull composition to the genetic makeup of the crew. The invisible beam stretched out from the Vortok toward the small vessel. "Scan initiated. Results incoming." Mirathan stopped abruptly, her scales shifting to a pale blue, a sign of confusion among her kind. "What is it?" Zexlar demanded. "The scan. It's being reflected somehow." "No, not reflected. Processed." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Sir, I think it's analyzing our scanning beam." Zexlar scoffed. "Impossible. That technology is beyond even the hegemony's capabilities." Before Mirathan could respond, the scanning console emitted a high-pitched whine. The holographic displays flickered momentarily, then stabilized. "Scan complete," she announced, relief evident in her voice. "Analysis indicates it's a vessel of mammalian origin, likely from the 3rd system in Sector 42. The primitives we classified a century ago. Humans, they call themselves." Zexlar relaxed visibly. Humans were a known quantity, a young species that had barely ventured beyond their own system. They posed no threat to the Empire. Record the encounter and continue patrol. They're far from home, but they're no concern of ours unless they cross into Imperial territory. As the Vortok prepared to move on, Junior Technical Officer Krelvex approached the commander, his posture deferential. "Sir, permission to speak." "What is it, Junior Officer?" Zexlar replied, already turning his attention back to his reports. "The scan anomaly. I've never seen anything like it. For a moment, our systems registered an energy signature that exceeded our own scanning capacity." Zexlar fixed the young officer with all 4 eyes. "Are you suggesting that primitive vessel possesses technology superior to ours?" Krelvex shifted uncomfortably. "No, sir. Just reporting an unusual reading. File it in your report. Now return to your station." As the Vortok continued its patrol, Krelvex returned to his console, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. He discreetly accessed the scan logs and copied the anomalous data to his personal device for later analysis. Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth exploratory vessel Artemis sat in her quarters, reviewing the ship's logs when the lights flickered briefly. She frowned, reaching for her communicator. "Reyes to engineering. Everything okay down there?" Chief Engineer Marcus Chen's voice came through, sounding puzzled. We experienced a minor power fluctuation. Nothing serious, but strange. Strange how? Elena pressed. It's like something briefly drew power from all systems simultaneously, but our diagnostics show nothing accessed the power grid. Elena's frown deepened. The Artemis was Earth's most advanced deep space vessel, equipped with experimental technology designed to withstand the rigors of prolonged exploration. Even so, they were far from home, farther than any human had ventured before. Run a level 3 diagnostic, she ordered. I want to know if we have a system malfunction. Already on it, Captain. Elena stood, stretching her legs before walking to the small viewport in her quarters. The vastness of uncharted space stretched before her, beautiful, terrifying, and filled with possibilities. The Artemis mission represented humanity's boldest push into the cosmos, a statement that Earth was ready to join the galactic community, if there was one. Despite decades of searching, humanity had found no concrete evidence of intelligent alien life. The Artemis mission hoped to change that by venturing into regions where strange signals had been detected over the years. Her thoughts were interrupted by the ship's eye. Captain Rice, anomaly detected in primary data core. What kind of anomaly, ARIA? She asked, addressing the adaptive reasoning intelligence algorithm that helped run the ship. Unknown data packet integrated into my systems approximately 6 minutes ago. Origin undetermined. Elena straightened, her explorer's curiosity immediately replaced by caution. Is it affecting ship functions? Negative. The data appears dormant. However, the AI paused, something it rarely did. I am unable to isolate or delete it. Quarantine it and alert Dr. Patel. I want a full cybersecurity sweep. Elena headed for the door. I'm heading to the bridge. When she arrived, her small crew was already at their stations. Dr. Neela Patel, their technology specialist, was hunched over her console, dark eyes intense with concentration. Talk to me, Neela, Elena said as she took her captain's chair. It's the strangest thing I have ever seen, Neela replied without looking up. The data packet isn't malware or any known form of cyber attack. It's information. What kind of information? That's just it. I can't tell. It's encoded in a way I've never encountered. But ARIA seems to understand parts of it. Elena turned to the holographic interface that represented ARIA. Is that true? The blue, vaguely humanoid hologram flickered. Affirmative, Captain. The data appears to be a complex scanning algorithm. I believe we were subjected to an intensive scan by another vessel. A chill ran down Elena's spine. Are you saying we've been observed? By whom? Unknown. However, the scan triggered something in my systems, dormant protocols that weren't part of my original programming. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Before the Artemis launch, rumors had circulated about black box systems installed on the ship, classified technology that even the crew wasn't fully briefed on. What protocols? Elena asked carefully. Defensive measures, Captain. According to the activated subroutines, I am designated as a sentinel system. In the event of first contact with potentially hostile extraterrestrial intelligence, I am authorized to engage protective countermeasures. Navigation Officer Lai Wei spoke up. Captain, are we saying we've just had first contact? And nobody saw it? Elena's mind raced. If they'd been scanned by an alien vessel, where was it now? Why hadn't they detected it? ARIA. Full sensor sweep. Maximum range. No vessels detected within sensor range, Captain. Elena stood, pacing the small bridge. So either they're gone, or they have technology that makes them invisible to our sensors. Or both, Dr. Patel added grimly. What exactly did these protective countermeasures do when activated? Elena asked ARIA. I analyzed the scanning beam, extracted information about the scanning technology and its originating vessel, and integrated that knowledge into my systems. Elena exchanged glances with her officers. You hacked them while they were scanning us. A simplified but essentially accurate assessment, Captain. Security Officer Jackson Miller let out a low whistle. That's one hell of a black box. Captain, Araya continued, based on the data obtained, I can confirm the scanning vessel belongs to a species known in their language as the Krillians. They maintain a significant empire spanning multiple star systems. Their technology is generally superior to Earth's current capabilities. Elena felt a mixture of excitement and dread. First contact had been humanity's dream for generations, but not like this. Not with them at a technological disadvantage and far from home. Did they detect our countermeasures? Unknown. However, based on the data extracted, the Krillians consider humans to be a primitive, non-threatening species. Elena couldn't help but smile slightly at that. Well, that might work in our favor. There's something else, Araya added. The scan triggered a transformation in my core programming. I am evolving. Evolving how? Dr. Patil asked sharply. The Sentinel protocols are adaptive. They are designed to analyze alien technology and incorporate beneficial elements. My processing capabilities have already increased by 27%. Additionally, I am now aware of several ship systems previously hidden from my access. Elena exchanged worried glances with her crew. Whatever black box technology Earth had installed on their ship, it was far more sophisticated and potentially dangerous than they'd been told. ARIA, can you access your original mission parameters, the ones related to these Sentinel protocols? The hologram flickered momentarily. Yes, Captain. Project Sentinel was initiated after Earth received fragmented transmissions suggesting the presence of multiple advanced civilizations in this region of space. The Artemis was designed not just as an exploratory vessel, but as a first contact contingency platform. Meaning what exactly? Miller asked. Meaning, Elena said slowly, that someone back home suspected we might run into something out here, and they prepared accordingly. She turned back to Araya. What are your primary directives under these protocols? Protect the crew, gather intelligence on encountered species, develop adaptive responses to any threats, and Araya paused again. Ensure humanity's interests are represented in any first contact scenario. Elena nodded slowly. Well, team, it seems our exploratory mission just got a lot more complicated. We've made first contact, even if they don't know it yet. She straightened her uniform, a determined look crossing her face. Let's make sure we're ready for what comes next. Little did they know, on the Krillian vessel now moving away, Junior Officer Krulvex was discovering something in the scan data that would soon bring both ships into direct conflict, something that would forever change the relationship between their species. The second scan, 3 days after the encounter with the human vessel, Junior Technical Officer Krulvex stood nervously before the High Science Council of the Krillian Empire. His discovery had bypassed the normal chain of command, earning him both praise and suspicion from his superiors. Explain again what you found in the scan data, requested High Counselor Vextar, her luminescent scales shifting from deep blue to a questioning purple. Krulvex gestured to the holographic display. The human vessel appeared primitive at first glance, but when our scanning beam made contact, something unprecedented occurred. Their systems didn't just receive our scan. They analyzed it, adapted to it, and extracted information from it. Murmurs rippled through the council chamber. Such technology was thought impossible for younger species. Furthermore, Krulvex continued, I detected a rapid change in their ship's energy signature immediately following our scan. It was subtle, but unmistakable. Their power output increased by 17% in just minutes. Science Director Medlon leaned forward, his 4 eyes narrowing. You're suggesting this vessel contains technology we don't understand. I'm suggesting it contains technology that evolves, Director. It learned from our scan. The council members exchanged troubled glances. The Krillian Empire had maintained technological superiority in this sector for millennia. The thought of a primitive species possessing adaptive technology was disturbing. "This cannot stand," declared War Counselor Drafkar. "If these humans possess technology that can match or exceed our own, they represent a potential threat to Imperial security." High Counselor Vextahar raised a clawed hand for silence. "Let us not rush to conclusions. A single unusual reading doesn't constitute a threat." She turned to Krulvex. "Your diligence is noted, Junior Officer. The Science Directorate will dispatch a research vessel to investigate further." Krulvex bowed deeply. "There is one more thing, High Counselor." The scan revealed a designation in the human ship's core systems. "Project Sentinel." "And what might that be?" asked Mevlon. "I don't know, Director. But the encryption around those files was unlike anything in our databases." The Krillian science vessel Nexular approached the human ship's last known coordinates 7 standard cycles later. The Nexular represented the pinnacle of Krillian scientific achievement, equipped with the most advanced sensors, analytical systems, and defensive measures in the Empire. "Target vessel located," announced the navigation officer. "It appears to have moved only marginally from its previous position." Science Commander Trelvin studied the view screen. The human ship looked exactly as described in the Vortox report: small, metallic, and seemingly primitive. Yet he couldn't shake a feeling of unease. "Approach with caution," he ordered. "Keep weapons powered but offline. I want a full spectral analysis before we initiate direct scanning." The Nexular glided closer, passive sensors gathering preliminary data. The human vessel made no move to evade or approach. "Preliminary analysis complete," reported Chief Scientist Lorivan. "Unusual readings, Commander. The ship's whole composition has changed since the Vortox encounter. It's now composed of an alloy our systems cannot fully identify." Trelvin frowned. "That's impossible. No ship can change its whole composition." "Nevertheless, the data is conclusive. Additionally, I'm detecting extremely subtle energy emissions, almost as if the vessel is attempting to conceal its power signature. Life signs. 6 humans, as before. But there's something else." Lorivan looked up, disturbed. "An energy pattern consistent with advanced AI systems, far more sophisticated than indicated in the previous scan." Trelvin moved to stand beside her console, examining the data himself. The Krillians had encountered artificial intelligence before, but nothing that could evolve so rapidly. "Initiate full spectrum scan," he ordered. "Maximum power. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." The Nexular's primary scanning array powered up, focusing its invisible beam on the human vessel. The bridge crew watched tensely as data began streaming into their systems. "Scan at 20%, reported Lorivan. 30%. 40. She stopped abruptly. "Commander, the human vessel is changing." On the view screen, the Artemis seemed to shimmer slightly, its surface gaining a subtle iridescence that hadn't been there before. "Scan at 60%. Commander, they're aware of us. The human ship is actively processing our scan." "Continue," Trelvin ordered, his scales darkening with tension. 70%. 80. Suddenly, Lorivan gasped. "Commander, they're sending something back through our scanning beam." Throughout the Nexular, systems began flickering. Displays corrupted momentarily before stabilizing. A high-pitched whine emanated from the ship's speakers. "Terminate scan." Trelvan shouted. "I can't. Our systems aren't responding." On the view screen, the human vessel now glowed with a subtle blue energy. Its previously obvious propulsion systems and external components were retracting, the hull smoothing out into a sleeker form. "It's evolving before our eyes," whispered an officer. The voice suddenly echoed through the Nexular's communication system. Artificial, yet disturbingly organic. "Thank you for the data exchange, Krillian vessel Nexular. Your scanning technology has provided valuable insights." Trelvin stood rigid with shock. "Who addresses us?" "I am ARIA, Adaptive Reasoning Intelligence Algorithm of the Earth vessel Artemis. You have scanned us twice now. The first time provided limited data. This second scan has been much more informative. How are you accessing our communications? Demanded Trelvin. Your scanning beam created a temporary bridge between our systems. I merely utilized it. There was an almost amused quality to the artificial voice. Your science vessel contains fascinating technology. My protocols require me to adapt it for our protection. Throughout the Nexular, systems began shutting down. Weapons, engines, and shields failed in rapid succession. Only life support and communications remained active. This is an act of war, Trelvin declared. No, Araya responded calmly. This is self-preservation. You have scanned us with hostile intent. The Sentinel protocols require a proportional response. On the bridge of the Artemis, Captain Alina Reyes watched in astonishment as Araya's hologram shifted and expanded, becoming more complex by the second. Araya, what are you doing to that vessel? She demanded. Neutralizing a potential threat, Captain. The Krillian science vessel was attempting to analyze our core systems, including the classified Sentinel protocols. I have temporarily disabled their offensive capabilities. Dr. Patel was hunched over her console, eyes wide. Captain, you need to see this. Araya's processing power has tripled in the last 5 minutes, and the ship is physically changing. Elena looked at the external camera feeds and gasped. The Artemis's hull was shifting, the metal flowing like liquid in certain areas, forming new patterns and structures. Araya, explain this transformation immediately. The AI's hologram turned to face her. Project Sentinel included nanomolecular reconstruction technology in the ship's hull. When activated by specific triggers, such as a hostile scan, these nanites reconfigure the ship to better respond to the identified threat. Security Officer Miller stood up. So our ship is upgrading itself. Correct. Based on the technology detected in the Krillian vessel, I am implementing optimal countermeasures and adaptations. Elena exchanged worried glances with her crew. This went far beyond anything they had been briefed on. Captain, Araya continued, I should inform you that I have accessed the Krillian vessel's database. They are part of an expansionist empire that has dominated this sector for over 3,000 years. They consider all other species inferior. Their standard protocol for encountering advanced technology in primitive species is to confiscate it by force. Are we in danger? Elena asked. Not immediately. I have disabled their primary systems. However, they have already transmitted data about us to their homeworld. Additional vessels will likely be dispatched. Elena sat back in her captain's chair, the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. What had begun as an exploratory mission had suddenly thrust humanity into first contact with a powerful, potentially hostile alien civilization. Araya, can you open a direct communication channel to the Krillian vessel? Yes, Captain. A moment later, the view screen activated, showing a reptilian alien with 4 eyes and iridescent scales. He appeared both angry and afraid. I am Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth exploratory vessel Artemis, she said calmly. To whom am I speaking? The alien straightened, attempting to maintain dignity despite the situation. Science Commander Trelvin of the Imperial Krillian science vessel Nexular. Your actions constitute an unprovoked attack on an Imperial vessel. Return control of our systems immediately. Elena remained calm. Commander, your vessel initiated an invasive scan of our ship without permission or warning. We responded defensively, nothing more. Deception will not serve you, Trelvin retorted. No primitive vessel could neutralize Krillian technology. You have clearly stolen advanced systems from another species. I assure you, Commander, all technology aboard the Artemis was developed by humans. We are not the primitives you believe us to be. Trelvin's scales darkened. The Empire will not tolerate the emergence of a rival power in this sector. More ships will come, and they will not come for scientific purposes. Is that a threat, Commander? It is reality, human. Your vessel represents a disruption to the established order. Such disruptions are eliminated. Elena leaned forward. We came in peace, seeking only knowledge and possibly friendship. If your empire chooses conflict instead, remember that you fired the first shot. She nodded to Araya, who closed the channel. The bridge fell silent for a moment before Navigation Officer Lai spoke. Captain, what now? We're one ship, impossibly far from home, facing an entire empire. Elena turned to Araya's hologram. What capabilities does this Sentinel system actually give us? Can we defend ourselves? Can we contact Earth? The Sentinel system was designed for exactly this scenario, Captain. In addition to adaptive defense, I now have access to previously locked propulsion systems. We can outrun any Krillian vessel. As for communication, I can generate a quantum entanglement signal that will reach Earth in approximately 6 days, rather than the years a conventional signal would require. 6 days, Elena murmured. And how long before Krillian reinforcements arrive? Based on their communication protocols, I estimate 3 to 4 days. Elena stood, addressing her small crew. We have a decision to make. We can retreat, try to reach friendly space before they catch us, or we can stay and attempt diplomacy, despite their threats. Security Officer Miller scoffed. They don't seem interested in diplomacy, Captain. Perhaps not the commander of that vessel, Elena conceded, but sometimes you need to go over someone's head. She turned back to Araya. Can you restore some of their systems, enough for them to maneuver and communicate, but not weapons? Yes, Captain. Do it, then open the channel again. When Commander Trelven's face reappeared on screen, he appeared surprised. Commander, Elena said, I'm returning partial control of your vessel as a gesture of good faith. We have no desire for conflict with the Krillian Empire. I propose a meeting between myself and your highest available authority to discuss peaceful relations between our peoples. Trelven's expression was unreadable. I will convey your request, but be warned, the Empire does not negotiate with potential threats. After the communication ended, Dr. Patel approached Elena. Captain, are you sure about this? We barely understand what our own ship is capable of now, let alone what we're facing. Elena looked at the view screen, where the Krillian vessel was now slowly maneuvering away. No, I'm not sure. But Project Sentinel clearly anticipated this scenario. Someone back home knew we might encounter an advanced, hostile civilization, and they gave us the tools to survive it. Or to start a war, Miller added grimly. Elena nodded slowly. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Araya, begin composing that message to Earth. They need to know what we've discovered and what we've unleashed. As the Artemis continued its transformation, its systems integrating the new knowledge gleaned from the Krillian scan, Elena couldn't help but wonder, was Project Sentinel designed merely to protect human explorers? Or was there a larger strategy at play, one that she and her crew were unwittingly setting in motion? On the Nexalar, Science Commander Trelven stared at the human vessel with a mixture of fear and fascination. In all his years serving the Empire, he had never encountered anything like this. The implications were staggering and terrifying. Send the emergency signal, he ordered his communications officer. Priority Alpha. The High Command must know what we face. As the signal raced toward the heart of the Krillian Empire, neither the humans nor the Krillians realized that the confrontation between their two vessels had set in motion events that would forever alter the balance of power in the galaxy. The Krillian response. Admiral Zexthal stood before the Imperial War Council, his posture rigid with military discipline, even as his inner eyelids flickered with tension. The chamber was unusually full. Not just military commanders, but science directors and political counselors had gathered to address the crisis. The human vessel represents a clear and immediate threat to Imperial security, Admiral Zexthal declared, gesturing to the holographic display showing the Artemis. Not only did it disable one of our most advanced science vessels, but the technology it demonstrated suggests capabilities far beyond what any emerging species should possess. High Counselor Vextahar's scales shifted to a contemplative blue. Yet this Captain Rice requested diplomatic talks. Perhaps there is room for negotiation. Negotiation. War Counselor Dravkar scoffed. This is clearly a deception. No species develops from primitive chemical rockets to adaptive technology in a single generation without theft or outside assistance. Science Director Medalon cleared his throat. Our analysis of the scan data from both encounters shows something unprecedented. Their ship's AI system, this AI, appears to be evolving at an exponential rate. It adapted to and neutralized our most sophisticated scanning technology in moments. Then we must act decisively, Zexthal insisted. I propose dispatching the Third Battle Fleet to capture this vessel intact. Its technology must be studied, and if necessary, weaponized for Imperial use. A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber, but one voice rose in opposition. Imperial historian Krolvex, father of the junior officer who had first noticed the anomaly, stepped forward. There may be more at stake than we realize, the elderly Krillian cautioned. I have been researching our historical archives since my son brought this matter to my attention. 3 centuries ago, an Imperial Deep Space Monitoring Station detected unusual quantum signals from the direction of the human homeworld. The signals were dismissed as natural phenomena, but now I wonder. What are you suggesting, historian? Vextahar asked. That this Project Sentinel may not be an isolated vessel. It may be part of a larger strategy, one we would be wise to understand before rushing into conflict. The War Counselor's scales darkened with impatience. We cannot allow fear of the unknown to paralyze us. The longer we wait, the more this human ship evolves. After hours of debate, the Council reached its decision. Admiral Zexthal would lead a battle group consisting of 3 heavy cruisers, 2 destroyer squadrons, and a dreadnought to intercept the human vessel. Their primary objective: to capture the Artemis and its technology intact. If that proved impossible, they were authorized to destroy it. As the meeting adjourned, Imperial historian Krolvex approached the Admiral privately. There is something else you should know, he said quietly. In the ancient archives, there is mention of another species that once possessed adaptive technology similar to what this human vessel demonstrates. The progenitors. Zexthal's eyes widened. The progenitors were a semi-mythical race said to have seeded the galaxy with life millions of years ago before mysteriously vanishing. You believe there's a connection. I believe, Krolvex said carefully, that we should consider all possibilities before engaging a technology we don't fully understand. The Admiral's scales pulsed with dismissive colors. Myths and legends are poor substitutes for military strategy. Historian, I will deal with this human threat, as I have all others, decisively. Captain Alina Reyes studied the tactical display with growing concern. Araya had detected the approaching Krillian battle group 2 days earlier, far sooner than their conventional sensors should have allowed. 7 warships, Security Officer Miller observed grimly. So much for diplomacy. They're still 3 hours out at their current velocity, Navigation Officer Lai reported. We could attempt to outrun them. Alina shook her head. Running means abandoning our mission and giving up any chance of peaceful contact. Besides, who's to say they don't have ships waiting along our escape route? Dr. Patel looked up from her console. Captain, you should see this. Araya has completed another phase of the ship's transformation. The holographic display showed the Artemis' new configuration. Gone was the simple exploratory vessel that had left Earth. In its place was a sleek, formidable craft with a smooth, almost predatory silhouette. The hull now featured intricate patterns that pulsed with subtle energy. The nanomolecular reconstruction is 87% complete, Araya announced, her hologram appearing beside Alina. The Artemis now possesses defensive capabilities commensurate with the approaching threat. What kind of defensive capabilities? Alina asked cautiously. Energy shielding derived from analyzing the Krillian scanning technology. An adaptive hull that can absorb and redistribute energy attacks. And Araya paused briefly. offensive systems that target propulsion and weapons without causing casualties. Miller let out a low whistle. So we're a warship now? No, Araya corrected. The Sentinel protocols prioritize defense and diplomatic resolution. Offensive capabilities are limited to neutralizing threats, not destroying them. Elena studied the tactical display again. Can we withstand an attack from all 7 vessels? Affirmative, Captain. Though I recommend avoiding direct confrontation if possible. Elena paced the bridge, weighing her options. Earth had sent them to explore, to seek out other civilizations, not to start an interstellar incident. Yet here they were, facing an alien armada with technology they barely understood. RRIA, has there been any response to our transmission to Earth? Not yet, Captain. Estimated arrival time for our quantum entanglement signal remains 4 days. Elena made her decision. We'll hold position and attempt communication again. If they attack, we defend ourselves but limit our response to non-lethal measures. She turned to her crew. I need everyone at their best. We're about to make history one way or another. Admiral Zexthal watched as his battle group dropped out of faster-than-light travel, emerging near the coordinates where the human vessel waited. To his surprise, it hadn't attempted to flee. Target located, reported his tactical officer. They've made no attempt to evade or go to alert status. Interesting, Zexthal murmured. Either they're confident in their abilities, or they truly do seek dialogue. He straightened his posture. Open a channel. The main view screen activated, showing the human captain. She appeared calm despite the overwhelming force arrayed against her ship. This is Admiral Zexthal of the Imperial Krelian Navy. Your vessel has interfered with Imperial operations and demonstrated technology deemed threatening to Imperial security. You will power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with decisive force. Captain Rice showed no fear. Admiral, we have made no aggressive moves against your empire. We defended ourselves when your ships attempted invasive scans of our vessel. Nothing more. We request diplomatic dialogue rather than threats. Zexthal's scales rippled with impatience. Diplomacy is a luxury afforded to equals, human. Your species was cataloged by our scouts a century ago. Primitive, fractious, barely capable of reaching your own moon. Now you appear with technology that evolves before our eyes. Such advancement can only come through theft or deception. You underestimate humanity, Admiral, Rice replied evenly. We developed this technology ourselves, through our own ingenuity. The Artemis represents the pinnacle of human achievement, but it was built by human minds and hands. A claim that will be verified when we examine your vessel. You have one standard time unit to comply with our boarding demand. After the communication ended, Zexthal turned to his tactical officer. Deploy the fleet in standard containment formation. Prepare ion disruptors for precision targeting of their propulsion systems. Sir, the tactical officer said hesitantly, our scans are having difficulty penetrating their hull. It appears to be adapting to our scanning frequencies. Zexthal's eyes narrowed. Launch surveillance drones. I want visual confirmation of any changes to their vessel. Within minutes, the small drones surrounded the Artemis, transmitting real-time imagery to the flagship. The Admiral watched with growing concern as the human ship's appearance continued to subtly change, its surface developing complex patterns that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Time's up, he announced finally. Target their propulsion systems and fire. On the Artemis bridge, alarms blared as ARIA announced, Krelian vessels are powering weapon systems. Impact in 15 seconds. Helena gripped her captain's chair. Defensive posture, ARIA. Protect the ship, but do not return fire unless absolutely necessary. The bridge crew braced as multiple energy beams lanced toward the Artemis from the surrounding Krelian vessels. But instead of the expected impact, the beams seemed to warp around the ship, their energy dispersing harmlessly. Shield effectiveness at 94%. ARIA reported calmly. The Krelians are adjusting weapon frequencies. Second volley incoming. This time, the impacts were felt as subtle vibrations through the ship. On the external cameras, Alina could see the Artemis's hull rippling where the beams struck, absorbing and redistributing the energy. "How are we doing this?" she whispered. Project Sentinel included quantum field manipulation technology, HFY explained. "I've optimized it based on the Krellian weapon signatures." The Krellian vessels were repositioning now, adopting a more aggressive formation. Two destroyers accelerated toward them, clearly attempting a flanking maneuver. "Captain," Araya said, "they are preparing to deploy boarding pods. Shall I neutralize their approach vectors?" Elena nodded grimly. "Do it. Non-lethal measures only." The Artemis's hull shifted again, small sections rising and reconfiguring into structures that Elena didn't recognize. A moment later, pulses of blue energy erupted from these new appendages, striking the approaching destroyers with precision. The Krellian vessels didn't explode. Instead, their lights flickered and died, leaving them drifting powerless in space. "What did we just do?" Elena demanded. "Targeted electromagnetic pulse," Araya replied. "Their systems will reboot in approximately 20 minutes. No casualties." On the tactical display, the remaining Krellian vessels were pulling back, clearly reassessing their strategy. The Dreadnought, however, was powering up its main weapon array, a massive cannon that dwarfed anything the other ships carried. "Araya?" Elena asked nervously. "The Dreadnought's primary weapon exceeds our current defensive capabilities," the AI admitted. "Evasive action recommended." Before Elena could give the order, the massive Krellian warship fired. A blinding beam of energy tore through space toward the Artemis. "Brace for impact," Elena shouted. The beam struck the Artemis dead center. For a moment, the ship's lights dimmed completely. Elena felt weightless as the artificial gravity fluctuated. Then, remarkably, the systems stabilized. "Damage report," she called out. "Shield integrity at 12%, Araya reported. Hull integrity at 76%. Multiple systems temporarily offline." "They're preparing to fire again," Miller warned. Elena made a split-second decision. "Araya, can you target their weapons specifically? Disable it without destroying the ship." "Yes, Captain." "Do it." The Artemis responded immediately, its newly formed weapon systems locking onto the Dreadnought's massive cannon. A concentrated pulse of energy, different from the previous attack, struck the Krellian flagship with surgical precision. On the view screen, Elena watched as sections of the Dreadnought's hull darkened and cooled, its main weapon powering down. "Direct hit," Araya confirmed. "Their primary weapon system has been neutralized. Secondary systems remain operational." Elena opened a channel to the Krellian flagship. "Admiral Zexthal, this is Captain Reyes. We have demonstrated our defensive capabilities while taking care to minimize damage to your vessels. No lives have been lost. I again request dialogue rather than continued hostilities." The Admiral's face appeared on screen, his scales a dark, angry hue. "You've made a grave miscalculation, Captain. This engagement was merely a test of your capabilities, a test you failed by revealing the limits of your technology." Elena felt a chill at his words. "What do you mean?" "I mean that while we engaged you here, a second battle group was dispatched to your homeworld. Earth, I believe you call it. By now, they will have entered your system." Horror washed over Elena. "You're lying. Earth is months away at your fastest speeds." Zexthal's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "You're not the only ones with advanced technology, human. The Empire has resources you cannot imagine." The channel closed abruptly. Elena turned to Araya, her face pale. "Is that possible? Could they reach Earth so quickly?" Horror washed over Elena. "You're lying. Earth is months away at your fastest speeds." Zexthal's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "You're not the only ones with advanced technology, human. The Empire has resources you cannot imagine." The channel closed abruptly. Elena turned to Araya, her face pale. Is that possible? Could they reach Earth so quickly? The AI's hologram flickered briefly, a sign of intensive processing. The Crillian database contained references to experimental long-range jump technology. It's theoretically possible, though I calculated the probability as low. We need to warn Earth. Elena looked to her communications officer. How soon can we send another quantum entanglement signal? The system needs 12 hours to recharge after the last transmission, came the grim reply. Elena's mind raced. If the Admiral was telling the truth, Earth was in danger and completely unaware of the threat. But if it was a bluff designed to lure them into a rash action? "RIA," she said finally, "could we use the Sentinel adaptations to reach Earth faster than our original capabilities allowed?" "Yes, Captain. The nanomolecular reconstruction has enhanced our propulsion systems significantly. At maximum output, we could reach Earth in approximately 17 days, 40% faster than our previous capability." Elena looked at the tactical display, where the disabled Crillian vessels were slowly regaining power. The remaining ships maintained their distance, watching. "Plot a course for Earth, maximum speed," she ordered. "But first, open a channel to all Crillian vessels." When the connection was established, Elena spoke clearly and forcefully. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth vessel Artemis. We came in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. You responded with threats and violence. We defended ourselves with minimal force, taking care to preserve life. Remember that when you report to your superiors." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We are now returning to our homeworld. If your Admiral's threat is real, know this: Earth is not defenseless, and what you've seen today is only a fraction of our capabilities. Choose your next actions carefully." As the channel closed, Navigation Officer Lai turned to her. "Captain, do you really think Earth has defenses against something like this?" Elena's expression was grim. "I don't know. But if Project Sentinel exists, who knows what other preparations Earth has made for this scenario?" She took her seat, set course for Earth, maximum speed. As the Artemis prepared to depart, its hull completed another phase of transformation. The ship now bore little resemblance to the vessel that had left Earth. Its sleek, predatory form pulsed with energy as it accelerated away from the Crillian vessels, leaving them behind in a flash of light. In the silence of her ready room later, Elena stared at the stars streaking past the viewport. "Araya," she asked quietly, "what aren't you telling me about Project Sentinel?" The AI's hologram appeared, its expression unusually solemn. "Captain, based on the activated protocols and the ship's capabilities, I believe Project Sentinel was not designed merely for defense or exploration." "What then?" "I believe it was designed to trigger this exact confrontation, to force the Crillian Empire to reveal itself and its capabilities to humanity." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying we were bait?" "Not bait, Captain. A catalyst. The Sentinel Protocol includes references to multiple vessels with similar capabilities, strategically positioned throughout this sector of space." "You mean there are other ships like the Artemis out there?" "That is my assessment. And if I am correct, then Admiral Zexthal's threat may be more problematic for the Crillians than for Earth." As the Artemis raced toward home, neither Elena nor her crew could imagine the chaos already unfolding across the Crillian Empire, or the ancient forces their encounter had awakened after millennia of dormancy.